The Denver Broncos just get a cuckoo-cachoo crazy opportunity to massively upgrade this team in free agency as we have multiple free agents hit the market that none of us saw coming. We know that March is Sean Payton's winning time when he goes and makes incremental improvements to this team that is going to take this team deep into the playoffs next year. We're going to break down who hit the market, who we didn't see coming, what are these little upgrades that we can make, and way more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben. Helps me in the algorithm out a ton if you would smash that like and subscribe button. So right about now, every time I open up Twitter, I'm seeing a new player who I wasn't expecting to be on the free agency market, and I'm like, oh, let's make him a Bronco, make him a Bronco, and him a Bronco. It's like Oprah handing out car keys under her seat. This is when you love to have Sean Payton, who has shown and demonstrated and has the receipts that the players he adds in March make meaningful impacts on this team. And to that end, one of the best receivers in football history, Devonte Adams, has hit the free agency market as a total free agent, a dude that you can sign on a veteran minimum. Absolutely wild news. The New York Jets have cut ways with him. Now, a lot of people right off the bat are like closing the door on this and saying that Adams is like totally washed up and he is not good anymore. And that is pretty short-sighted, because if you take a look at just how he did last year, he had 8 total touchdowns and over 1,000 yards receiving, despite the fact that he was playing with ayahuasca Aaron Rodgers on like one ACL, or what did he have? One Achilles, and then multiple backup quarterbacks with the Vegas Raiders. And his numbers last year were actually better than Courtland Sutton's numbers were last year. And you can get him at a vet minimum. And at this time last year, as teams were going through and content creators were going through and making their rankings, everyone was saying the Vegas Raiders had the best receiving room in the game in the AFC West because of just Devonte Adams. So he has definitely not fallen far enough from like his peak. Obviously, you're not going to see years like this where he's setting the NFL on fire and you know, pushing closer to 2,000 yards than he is to 1,000 yards, but he is only 32 years old. He does take care of his body, and I think it would make a ton of sense. You were hearing multiple plugged-in sources to the NFL saying that the Broncos are one of the teams who this would make a ton of sense for. James Palmer used to be with DNVR, used to be with NFL Network. He knows a ton of people in the Broncos front office. So the fact that like we are number one on his list of someone who might make sense for the Broncos, pretty crazy. The newest coach of Valor Christian Schools, Coach Mike Sanford, came out and said like this would be the biggest no-brainer move ever for the Denver Broncos to do that. And if you're Devonte Adams and you are picking between these different options, do you want to go to a place where you know that Jim Harbaugh does not prioritize throwing the ball and airing it out? Do you want to go to a place like the Steelers where they are not going to, we don't even know who their quarterback is, and that's not really, there's a ton of drama there. Do you want to go back to the Packers and play in Green Bay? He doesn't seem to be that type of person. He's also a West Coast dude. And I guess the one on here that would scare me is I would hate to see him end up with the Chiefs. So I think him going to the Broncos makes a ton of sense and would be very, very exciting. How do you feel about seeing Devonte Adams in a Broncos uniform? The cool part about like what his deal structurally will look like is that this doesn't mean we're shutting the door on Courtland Sutton. It just means we are adding him in addition to Courtland Sutton, and I think he's got a lot left in the tank. Obviously, it's hard to look past the horrible. Where is it? There was the play this year where he did like a double reverse that failed spectacularly. But other than that, like he did have some flashes, and like I said, he had better numbers last year with way worse quarterback play than Courtland Sutton did. I still think he has enough in the tank. He's a great route runner, and I think it would be a fantastic upgrade as a vet minimum guy. If you'd have told us 2 years ago we were getting Devonte Adams, we all would have just taken our shirts off. We were so excited. So I think this could make a ton of sense, and you are adding to these weapons that Bo Nix has. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. Still tons of rumors out there about Cooper Kupp. So if it were between the Broncos getting Cooper Kupp or getting Devonte Adams on vet minimum deals, who would make you more excited? Drop it in the comments and let me know there. Next thing that there's just tons of talk about and tons of wondering about is that as this free agency time opens up and we can sign, might there be a running back that the Broncos get? Is the fact that we probably will not re-sign Javonte Williams, and the fact that we did a healthy scratch of Audric Estime in the biggest game of the year, is that a sign that the Broncos do not trust who they have running the ball right now? Is the fact that we haven't had a 100-yard rusher since 3 years ago, like before COVID, does that show that the Broncos need better talent in the running back room? And one of the names that keeps getting thrown about a ton is current Vikings running back Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones last year had over 1,000 yards. It's been since Philip Lindsay that we had 1,000-yard running back here in Denver. When he was playing with the Packers, he was a game changer. He was able to take the Vikings last year. I don't have that great of an opinion of Sam Darnold, and he was able to really take that offense and make it. They were competing for the number 1 seed in the NFC until the Lions beat them one of those last weeks of the season. So I think Aaron Jones has a ton left in the tank, and I would love it if the Broncos could get Aaron Jones in free agency. And it might be easier to do. The Vikings have made it known to everyone that they want Aaron Jones, but they don't have unlimited cap space. And it seems as if they are going to try to work out a short-term deal with Sam Darnold. Short-term deals are bad for your cap space. So while the Vikings have more cap space than the Broncos, if you are eating up $20, $30, $40 million on a short-term deal on Sam Darnold, that's great news for the Broncos because that means they don't have as much money to spend on Aaron Jones, so he might hit free agency. I think our biggest competition, if Sean actually wants Aaron Jones, is going to be the Vikings, and the fact that they're moving on from him is absolutely fantastic there to keep watching. The other name that I had expected, there were some rumors that he was going to actually end up signing that he was going to get franchised, but we see that the franchise tag is used so rarely on offensive linemen other than left tackle because you have to pay all the offensive linemen on that franchise tag as if they're a left tackle, and you don't usually pay your guard or your center as much as a left tackle. The only team who's actually dumb enough to do that was the Chiefs, and we broke that down last week. They did indeed give a franchise tag to a guard and are paying him $5 million more for way worse play than we have in Quinn Minor, so that's great. But a name people were thinking he was going to get a franchise tag or a long-term deal, and that is one of the better centers in all of football. And this is right here, Drew Dahlman out of the Atlanta Falcons. I remember just watching that game that we played against him, and the offensive line was pretty decent, and that was against a very immobile quarterback in Kirk Cousins. So this could be really cool. What if the Broncos, instead of going inside linebacker, like all of us are planning on it happening, what if Sean Payton says, you know what, let's make this the actual best offensive line in football and take the only chink in our armor, which is the center position, and upgrade it with the 4th best center in all of football, according to Pro Football Focus. And then you have one of the best guards in all of football in Quinn Meinerz. You got one of the best centers with Dahlman here. You have one of the best left tackles in Garrett Bowles. You are talking about just sustained excellence for this Denver Broncos roster. So let me know in the comments of those 3 that we kind of floated here, Devante, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Jones, I guess this is 4, and Drew Dahlman, which of those would make you over the moon excited and book in your tickets for Santa Clara next year because the Broncos will be going to the Super Bowl? I love the fact that the Denver Broncos are overturning this puzzle. They're building it back piece by piece, and Sean Payton is going to know clearly, hey, is the best way to upgrade the center position, is it to sign a free agent? Is the best way to upgrade the center position to go draft a guy? And the same thing with safety, and the same thing with wide receiver, and the same thing, obviously, with inside linebacker. It is an incredibly exciting time to be a Denver Broncos fan, and we've got so much to believe in. Ooh, I'm back!